Welcome to the Blue Board podcast series for Blue Lights project. Welcome to Blue Board. Today we're exploring how we can bring the ocean closer to citizens, especially to children, through education, innovation, and international advocacy. I'm joined by Iwona, Head of International Relations at Nausicaá, and Lolita Couchene, Advocacy Officer and Spokesperson. Nausicaá is Europe's largest aquarium and a major center for marine education, conservation, and ocean diplomacy. Thank you both for being here.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for inviting us.
It's my pleasure. Iwona, let's start with you. For listeners who may not know Nausicaá beyond being an aquarium, how would you describe what Nausicaá really is today? And what makes it different from a traditional aquarium?
From the very beginning, when Nausicaá was opened in 1991, we already set our mission, which was to restore human relation with the ocean and to sort of reconnect people with the ocean on an emotional, intellectual level and responsible. So we have, from the very beginning, we didn't want to be just an aquarium that shows different species behind the glass tanks. We wanted also to educate and to raise awareness that there is a close relation between humankind and the ocean.
I've been to dozens of aquariums all across Europe. And don't get me wrong, I love Belgium. And I don't want to offend any of my Belgian friends, but I've been to one aquarium that claimed to be the biggest aquarium in Belgium, in Liège, and it was a bit disappointing. So I'm very excited to visit Nausicaá hopefully this year, because I have seen some pictures and videos. It looks just amazing and huge. So Iwona, Nausicaá welcomes millions of visitors every year, right? I don't have the exact data. Maybe you guys have it. How do you design experiences that turn a simple visit into a lasting connection with the ocean?
Yeah, since the last extension, we welcome about 900,000 visitors a year, including schools, children, because we work closely with school classes that come for special workshops. So we always, when we develop our exhibitions, we always try to tell a story with our exhibition about the different ecosystems, about the marine species that live in this ecosystem, but also people who benefit, who work in this ecosystem and whose livelihood depend on them. So we, develop different stories about thematic, different themes that we want to address in the exhibition. And we always want our visitors to have an immersive experience. And so we try to appeal to all their senses. So, first of all, there is the sense of sight. So when they can see the beautiful coral reefs or the vast open sea and the manta ray that is evolving in this ecosystem. So this is something that is very impressive and to the eyes. We also use sound, because we always have a soundtrack and soundscape, which is developed in a way that it proposes the music, which is also connected and which contains also the sounds from the natural world, like whale songs or the sounds subtle crackling of the little fish, because the underwater world is not a silent world. So our soundscapes are always a mixture of both the music and the sound of the natural world. And of course, there is touch. So we have 2 touch tanks where you can actually put your hand in and connect and, turn your experience into something tangible, something that you can actually feel. So you can touch, the rays or fish. And then there is taste, of course. In terms of taste, we organize diverse tasting sessions, tasting workshops, and we also propose sustainable menus with the Good Fish campaign on our premises to the visitors. But this immersive experience is on the one hand, because this is a crucial, important pathway to raising awareness. But this is something that we want to use because we think that it will awaken awe and wonder within our visitors. And when there is wonder, when people are wondering at beautiful things, they usually start to care for them. They start to love them. We think that we are convinced that if, they love these things, then they would care for them. They would care for the ocean.
Lolita, you work in international advocacy spaces. And from your work there, why do you think citizen awareness now seen as essential, not optional, for ocean governance?
Yes, that's a very good question. And I think it's really important. Like in Nausicaá, we raise wonder in people and we deliver knowledge about ocean and everything for them to be able to engage in ocean governance, in ocean issue, and to feel empowered to be involved. And that's a crucial role at international level too, because even if individual behavior matters, we really need systemic change in ocean governance to have actual and relevant change happening. And for it, we need all perspectives. We need really a diversity of perspective and not just decision makers. They need to be able to interact with youth, with coastal communities, with indigenous peoples, with citizens, and for them also to be able to understand what the policy are and why they are like this, why it matters for the protection of ocean. So we really need this dialogue to happen and for our diversity of citizens to be involved in this governance, for it to be relevant and appropriate for the situation. So I think it's also about the collective responsibility for citizens to be able to not just do something by their own, but also to do something for the collective protection and care of the ocean.
In those conferences and global events that you're attending, do you see a gap between what policymakers discuss at these conferences and what everyday citizens understand about ocean issues?
Yes, it can happen because it's still a work in process, but we do have some representation of different parts of the civil society. And that's why it's so important to be there. My work is also to represent Nausicaá in these spaces, to be the voice of a part of the civil society, this part that is at the intersection between society, science, and citizen, and to bring our expertise to how we can translate knowledge, care, and love of the ocean to citizens, and also to give this expertise to the decision makers for them to understand also these perspectives. But there are also representation of youth. That's also something we do at Nausicaá. We try to and put a lot of efforts into give access to these spaces to youth, for them to be able to directly give their perspective and for them to directly have a voice in the conversation with these decision makers that need to hear what are the different perspectives and to get in touch with it. So I think it's not perfect right now. There is still a lot of work to do. In some international conferences, it's difficult, financially to access these spaces. If you're young, if you're from a community that is a really local community, that's not a lot of money. Even like the knowledge about these spaces, that's also something we do. We train young people about these spaces because how do you interact with them if you don't know about them, if you don't know how to get there? So there is a lot of accessibility issue, but we are putting a lot of efforts on this in Nausicaá because we believe that is necessary and that there is hope there.
Yeah, but you're right. We still have a long way to go on that direction. Iwona, I want to get back to you. Children, I assume, are a huge part of Nausicaá's mission. What actually works when it comes to helping young people feel emotionally connected to the sea, but not just informed? And maybe a quick follow-up question on that. Initiatives like school programs, as you mentioned, behind-the-scenes tours, and hands-on learning are very powerful. Have you seen moments where a child's perspective clearly shifts?
Yeah, I think, yeah, exactly. The emotion, emotional pathways, immersion is not enough. So that's why we also have structured educational programs, workshops, hands-on, and, guided tours, and also many educational kits that either, happen, we have educational activities that happen in-house, but also outdoors, where our science communicators go with schools on the beach or in other natural spaces, or they even sometimes go to schools, actually. So there is a lot of happening. I just wanted to say that, it is not easy, the concept of marine life. Sometimes it can be complicated because natural underwater world is not easily accessible to us humans because we can't breathe in there. So you can't really access it without special equipment. So this is why many people think it's far away because they can't see it. And, you don't really care. You don't know what is happening there. So that's one part of the complexity. Another part of the complexity is that many concepts which are related to the marine and the role of the ocean are also complex, like climate change, biodiversity loss. So our role is also to translate these complicated concepts into the language that could be personal and understandable. And this is what we are trying to do with the kids as well, with the children as well. And this is also with what we are trying to do with the political decisions, because we follow up on international conferences and European conferences, and we always try to explain the stakes either through our exhibitions or through other activities. So in terms of a shift, we are convinced that power of the citizen is a very important power, because citizens have the voting power, so they can actually vote for the representatives in the governments. If they inform decisions about what is at stake in terms of the marine environment, they can also influence policies in this way. They have also the power of, the purchase power. So if they do the informed buying choice, this will also influence the market, and then it will influence the food. This is what happens actually with our Mr. Good Fish program. It is based on the fact that the citizen has a purchasing power. So if we inform them about the fish that they can responsibly buy and that are not threatened by extinction, then they will create a demand on the market, and then the producer will have to produce more fish that are not, the stocks of which are not threatened by extinction or endangered. So that's for the first question. And the second one was whether I have witnessed a shift.
Exactly.
It is always difficult to follow up on people who come. I think this is the main problem of the institutions like ours, or, museums and science center, is to measure the impact of what people have learned while visiting our place.
Yeah.
And what happens afterward. So what we always try to offer them, ideas of actions that they can take up every day after they leave Nausicaá. For example, they live with the knowledge of Mr. Goodfish application, where they can actually choose the fish they can eat. They know that that we also carry several conservation programs in the field, and we support the conservation of different species, so they can contribute also to these activities. So there's always something concrete that they can do in terms of plastic pollutions. We have also citizen science programs in which they can participate actually in beach cleanups or monitoring of water monitoring. And we think that it's important to start with the children as well, because once they will become adults. So if the awareness is raised from the very early age, they would evolve, and the relationship to the ocean and environment would evolve with them. And even through the youth, this is why we also have many activities for the youth, because after that they will become the ones who manage our world. So yeah.
Yeah, and what you said is, I think, very important, because we have the science, which we need a lot, but then marine science is very complicated and it's not always very easy to understand. But then on the ground, we need journalists, we need NGOs, we need aquariums, we need advocacy officers, we need so many other different roles to actually bring the ocean science to everyday citizens. And last week I had another guest, Rebecca Katsaris, and she was working in Cyprus with 6-year-old, 7-year-old kids to actually teach them about marine education through rap songs, through storytelling, through caricatures, with using so many different tools. So I think that's very important. Lolita, we know that Nausicaá is definitely raising the public awareness on marine issues. But I want to ask, how can spaces like aquariums and science centers can influence real political momentum, not just public awareness?
It's a lot related to my role in Nausicaá, for sure, because from our expertise in raising public awareness, we now have a legitimacy to talk and be involved in spaces that are also related to policy, to what's happening at the national, international level. And we are going to these spaces with our expertise, but also with the fact that we are part of networks that also have a lot of different expertise there. And we develop together advocacy, position, message, ambitious suggestions and recommendations for the future of ocean protection. And we are going there with this diversity of perspective as coalition, as networks, pushing these spaces with the force of the collective and the force of our different perspectives, with proposals and recommendations for things to evolve in the good direction and for the dialogue to be productive. Because gathering all these perspectives allows the policy to be more relevant for also the public, because we are bringing this expertise in the discussion. So as you said, also there is this work also Iwona was saying, is to bring what is the discussion in this international, in this policy discussion to the citizen, to the public, for them to understand and make aware, like choice that with awareness and with knowledge. But we think in Nausicaá that we also have a responsibility, because we are raising awareness to people about the need to protect oceans, the need to protect the marine life and everything. And we also feel that we have this responsibility to act in favor of the protection directly, not just by raising awareness. That's why we have this conservation program, and that's also why we are getting involved in this advocacy work, in this policy work, to directly participate in making changes that allow better ocean protection. For example, we really are strong on deep sea ecosystems protection, and that begins with our exhibition on the subject. So we raised awareness to people about the subject, and we developed this expertise on the subject. And then we want to get involved in better protection directly of the deep sea ecosystems, because it's a really important and momentum subject,
And I assume we're about the same age. And there's growing talk about youth voices in ocean diplomacy. Are institutions finally taking young people seriously as political actors, do you think?
Oh, okay. That's also my personal experience, because I am a young person involved in these spaces. And before working for Nausicaá, I was also a youth working in diplomacy and in these spaces. I think we have progress there, for sure, because we are more and more institutionalized representation of youth in all different spaces at international level. So we have more and more institutional consultations of youth. So there is progress, but I think there is still a lot more to do, because we are consulted, like young people are consulted, but we don't necessarily have, the direct power to act in these spaces or to take decision in these spaces, or to follow up of what's on the consultations. We give our perspective, but then what happened with what we said, So I think there's still work there to do, to have like the real seat at the table, as everyone is saying. And also I think there is a lot more work to do in terms of representation of even the youth in these spaces, because as I said, there is access of knowledge, but of money and everything. And often it's like youth that are privileged in the world that can access these spaces. That's youth that make a lot of studies, that are maybe from Western world, that have, more money, more access to this. And so there is a necessity of more representation of diversity of youth and the diverse perspectives in the dialogue,
Iwona, I want to get back to you, my final questions, but this is going to be a long one. With innovation hubs like Blue Living Lab, the ones that I saw in your website, or awareness-raising campaigns like Mr. Goodfish that you mentioned, or with so many European and international projects that you're also a part of, probably leading many of them, Nausicaá goes beyond education into solution. But among those dozens of initiatives, do you remember any particular success story or a common challenge that Nausicaá faced?
It dates long time ago. I mean, it's not our success because it's a joint success. World Ocean Day, the International World Ocean Day. When I started at Nausicaá, we were very much involved in promotion of the World Ocean Day, which at that time it was, well, actually, I think the first time it was proposed, it was in 1992 during the World Summit in Rio de Janeiro. I think it was proposed by Canada, but then it was not an officially established World Ocean Day. And the ocean community started to organize themselves to help and to help with their activities, so that this day becomes an official day on the United Nations agenda. So I have witnessed for many years that there was a petition that I think it was launched in the United States of America, and then it spread all over the world. And there were many, many organizations who started to celebrate World Ocean Day before it was officially established. And, we, of course, Nausicaá was also one of them. And we also started to celebrate it with the educational activities in June and so on and so forth. And we also we were part at that time of World Ocean Network, and this organization was gathering the information of all, European organizations that were celebrating the World Ocean Day. And every year, the information was then presented to the Honduras, at the meetings at the United Nations, with, of course, other organizations. So it was a very successful story. It's very successful, but because finally the World Ocean Day was established as an official international day. So I think it's not our success, but it's a success of the whole entire ocean community, that how, we managed to put our forces together.
Mm-hmm. Now I have a question for both of you. It's a bit technical one, and I didn't really think this through. It just came to my mind. But I believe some people, I know that you're both in the more policy side and on the management side, in the project side. So it's perhaps a bit more technical question, but I just want to hear your thoughts. Some people are critical of aquariums and, I don't know, compare them to zoos, perhaps, saying that keeping marine animals in tanks is harmful or even a form of captivity. How does Nausicaá respond to that concern, and what concrete steps do you take to ensure animal welfare and ethical conservation? I know it's a bit a long question, and I know that you have a team just dedicated for that in Nausicaá, but I just want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, for us, animal welfare is foundational. It's crucial. And we are part of the, international associations of aquariums and zoos, where, there are certain standards that are set in terms of the animal welfare. So we, it's our, it's priority number one to follow these standards. So this is one part. And also, we participate in many breeding programs for species which are quite often threatened. So, and these breeding programs, they are part of the ex situ programs that are led by the European associations of aquariums and zoos. So they actually contribute to the conservation, especially, to avoid the extinction of certain species, because we are becoming like the living conservatories of some, species. So we are currently, we work on these programs with the species like sharks, rays, penguins, sea lions, and small fish as well. We also reproduce corals. We have developed our own technique to reproduce corals so that they are not taken from the natural environment. And we are also part of the World Coral Observatory. So there are lots of, and we also support the NGOs who work on the field to restore the marine ecosystems.
Yeah, also I want to add on this subject that also to, that's a really big subject right now, like the well-being of animals and everything. It's an important subject. That's something we take into art at Nausicaá, and something we do for people to better understand what we do with our animals is when people come to visit Nausicaá, they have the possibility of do different kind of visits. And one option is following someone that is taking care of animals, like kind of behind the scenes visits to understand what's happening behind the scenes, like how the animals are fed, how their well-being are assured and everything. So, for people to have more this transparency with what we do, that's like how we go with this. Like we are following transparency, like we explain what we do and we show, like if something happened, we talk about it, like it's really transparent, because we believe like the future of aquarium is also to be transparent with the public, because there is a lot of question raised everywhere, and that's the way we want to go with this. And as Iwona said, we also have all these conservation aspects and the role of aquarium in this conservation work. And it was recognized actually by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, that made policy position explaining how aquarium and zoo have a crucial role to play in the conservation field. So that's something also we are really engaged in. So that's also contribute to how we do it. And also we also have a lot of different visits you can do to explain, we are also training animals for them to be able to, if they have something happen to them, the veterinary can interact with them without, sedation, without medics and everything. So to improve how we take care of them. So, and at the forefront of the modernity of what we can do with animals.
So we, the care is about, in terms of this animal species with the veterinary, who is part of our staff and available all the time, and also about the water quality, because we have also a special team that is dedicated, whose work is to check every day the water quality, temperature, the pH level, the pollution, and so everything is taken into account so that the welfare of animal is, as close as possible to the natural environment. So there's a lot of work. There's a whole aquariology department whose work is dedicated to this.
I believe your answers eliminated all my doubts. My final question, I just need a short answer from both of you. Iwona, you can start, and then Lolita, you can take it on from there. If every visitor left Nausicaá with one mindset shift about ocean, what would you hope it is?
For me, is that protecting the ocean is not, altruism. Protecting marine species is not about saving the marine world. It's saving myself. It's saving myself because my life depends on the ocean, because every second breath I take from the ocean, I depend on it for food, for a job. So, because I'm altruistic, it's really because I have to do this. I need to do this because it's beautiful, of course, but it's because my life depends on it.
Definitely.
I love it, Iwona. That's a really good message to go with. Okay, mine, I don't know. I think there is a lot of subjects that we talk about in Nausicaá that are really complicated and can raise a lot of anxiety, it's about climate change, about what's happening for the life in ocean and everything. But we want visitors to leave not with fear, but with the will to act of love for the ocean and do something for it. Our goal is for them to live with awareness, but also with care and with will to act to protect what they get to love, the ocean. And as you said, something that also is them, like ocean is them. So I think it's that. Living not with fear, but with will to act and with this sense of responsibility and possibility.
Two amazing messages. Well, now visiting Nausicaá is definitely in my to-do list for this year. Thank you very much, Iwona and Lolita Couchene, for joining Blueboard.
Thank you, Ahmetcan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ahmetcan.